on Pfizer's EUA according to health officials after the deaths of nursing home residents in Norway.
Pfizer is expected to submit a report to the FDA regarding the death of several elderly patients from Norway who were injected with their COVID-19 vaccine.
Parang sinasabi nila that this might just be coincidental because the patients are severely ill and baka kahit yung minor lang na reactions dun sa bakuna ay nakaapekto sa kanila.
Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. says some 22 million Filipinos will be inoculated with vaccines from COVAX in the next few months.
While we cannot yet disclose the numbers of orders, we are assuring the public that we will have a fair mix of vaccines options. But we want to again emphasize that one, only those vaccines endorsed by the vaccine expert panel will be purchased. And number two, only those issued with the emergency use authorization by the FDA will be administered.
The two chambers of Congress are raising questions about government's COVID-19 vaccination plan at the same time that the country is expecting the first batch of vaccines as early as next month.
The DOH has identified more than 4,000 vaccination sites, but it has yet to mobilize medical professionals to administer the doses to at least 100 people a day. But first, how will government resolve the Filipinos' lack of confidence in the vaccines? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs.
And welcome to this Monday edition of The Chiefs. Of course, with us tonight are Robbie Alampay here on the set of One News, and as well Ana Marie Pamintuan of the Philippine Star from the port area in Manila, and Lucy Cruz Valdez, the head of News 5. Ladies and Robbie, good evening and happy Monday.
Good evening, happy Monday.
What's our big story for the start of the week?
Well, I imagine a lot of things we'll be talking about this evening. The world's watching and looking out for a report from Pfizer after the deaths of some senior citizens in Norway, in particular. So we're waiting for that report. And then in the meantime, we're still waiting for clarification on whether or not this deal with China, the so-called deal with China, is a done deal or pwede pa bang umatras, kagaya na sabi ni Carlito Galvez last week.
Yeah, and whether it's really a good deal, kasi the last we heard from Secretary Galvez, mura lang pala daw. At least the last price that we heard. Anyway, let's bring in our guest siguro tonight. We are fortunate to have with us tonight the Senate President himself, Senator Tito Sotto, joining us, I suppose, sir, from your home, no? Kasi I can see, it seems like your wife is peering over your shoulder.
Yeah. Making sure that I'm all right. Good evening. Thank you very much, Ed and Robbie, and of course, Ma'am Ami and Ma'am Lucy. Good evening.
Good evening po, and thank you for joining us. Sir, let me start it off this way na kasi total we're all talking about the vaccinations, the vaccine program, I mean, and the Senate has just had a series of hearings on the vaccine program. Kayo po ba, diretso ko kayo po yung nagpabakuna na ba? At kung hindi pa, kayo ba may preference na bakuna?
Hindi pa wala pa. And then, ang pinag-uusapan sa Senate, because sa suggestion ni Majority Leader Senator Subiri, na parang yung ginagawa ng private sector, ang Senate ay bumili for our employees, not for us, but for our employees and the employees of the Senate, because we're, unlike the House of Representatives na maluwag sila, but they are importing already. I think they ordered already. They made arrangements for employees and the officers, or the members. But in our case, masikip na yung amin, maliit lang yung building namin, but the suggestion is that we do buy for our employees later on kung sakaling may at saka siguro doon sa amin na merong interesado, then we can do that.
Pero sir, yung senators
Nag-survey ba kayo, sir? Nag-survey ba kayo ng preferred brands?
Wala pa, but the way I browse through not only the newspapers but also reports and then the internet, mukhang hindi naman nagkakalayo-layo sila, but Pare-pareho lang. Meron lang preference yung mga taga-United, taga-US, may preference yung mga taga-Germany, may preference yung mga taga-China. Tingnan natin, we will listen to the experts and let's see what is going to be available.
Okay, Sen, we'll listen to the experts, pero right now, let's talk about the politicians. As far as you can understand, can you make sense for us, for the public? First of all, that question, and I think you yourself raised it. When it comes to this supposed deal with China for the initial dose of vaccines from China, is it a done deal or not? Who do we listen to and who do we believe? Do we listen to Malacanang or Secretary Galvez?
When it was first announced, it sounded like a done deal. Na may padating na ng February 20. But during the hearings that we had, the two hearings that we had, first of all, we found out that Sinovac, which is the first set of vaccines that they are importing, does not have an EUA. Pero yung Pfizer meron na. At saka yung AstraZeneca meron na. Sila wala pa. So, the bottom line, tinanong namin, paano naging done deal? Magdi-deliver na wala pa palang EUA, padating pa daw. Hindi pwede, wala. So, after this second hearing, we got directly from them that it's not a done deal. We can back out. Wala pang down payment, walang down payment daw. So, ang reason na ginagamit, na sinasabi, is that kasi yung first available. Yung the first available, ang gusto nila kagad. So that we can start already. And it's not confined to Sinovac. In fairness to them, to the IAF and the vaccine chart, it is not confined to Sinovac. Kung sino yung mga napakukunan nila, kukuha sila. And then there's one or two experts who said that hindi naman nagkakalayo sila pare-pareho. Meron mga efficacy differences, but the content daw, yung virus content nila ay hindi na nagkakalayo-layo. According to one, isa lang daw pinanggalingan ng sample na pinagmulan para sa kanilang experiments.
Okay.
So hindi rin
Pero sir,
anyway,
let me just update that a bit. Kasi kanina naman, ang sabi naman ni Harry Roque sa press con niya, hindi, it is a done deal. He totally contradicted what the last thing that Secretary Carlito Galvez told you.
yes, it seems that they are not talking in that case, because it's also Secretary Roque who said that the fake news yung 3,600 per vial.
Yes.
Pero that came from a committee hearing of the Committee on Finance of the Senate, and it was submitted on paper by the Department of Health, that price. So how can it be fake news? So the DOH is exposing fake news?
Sabi nga nila, sir, pwede daw magtatawaran pa naman. But yung kaninang privilege speech ni Senator Lacson, he actually said na muntik na nga daw magka-overprice kung hindi nagkaroon ng public complaint, saka nag-hearing nga kayo. And you're planning an executive session on Friday. So, dapat tigil na, di ba? Ano pa yung mga balak niyong itanong dito sa executive session?
The executive session is being propounded only because meron daw confidential o CGA ba yung
NDA, non-disclosure agreement.
Non-disclosure
Agreement. Yeah.
agreement, parang gano'n.
Yes,
Pero
NDA.
bakit tinanong ko si Joey Concepcion? Bakit na head ng Go Negosyo? Sabi, tinanong ko, siya nang mamahala ng private sector importation at pagbili, procurement. Tinanong ko presyo, ang bilis sinagot, $5.
Yes.
Bakit ang bilis na sasagot? Bakit yung ibang bansa? Sabi pa nila, biro-broadcast pa, nakasa social media pa yung presyo ng pagkakabili nila ng ganito. O bakit dito sa atin kailangan itago?
Okay, sa oversight na ganyan, sir, pwede nyo na ba i-investigate kapag may speculation na or sabihin na lang natin parang high probability that there was corruption or there is corruption going on sa negotiation level pa lang? or you will have to wait until the deal is done?
Well, in that, mas magandang mapigil. Kung meron man, ha, I'm not saying there is, but if meron mang intensyon, because of that, those figures that were being initially mentioned, pagkatapos hindi naman mapalagan ng presyo, and then comes a policy order from China, from the Chinese government, saying that their companies or those selling Chinese vaccines must not profit. They have to sell at cost. Oh, pagkatapos merong tapos biglang ganun ang presyo, magkakaroon ng overpricing. Hindi, napigil kaagad natin or pigilin kaagad natin. Huwag na natin hayaang saka pala natin hahabulin pag merong overpricing. Kabilihan.
And you think that you can actually get that information in an executive session? Ganun ba yun?
That's possible. That's possible. Ngayon, ang importante is, right now, we were able to bring it down already. Hindi ba? O hindi pala 360. O ngayon, lumalabas, merong announcement na 650. Ha? Mukhang hindi pa 650. Diba? Nasa opening $5. Kung $5, pagpalagay natin $5 per vaccine.
240 lang yun. Yeah.
Correct. 250 pesos lang. O, kung palagay mo ng dalawa, de 500 pesos lang.
But Sen, maliban sa presyo, as you pointed out, there's still the matter of the EUA, there's still the matter of the FDA, there's still the matter, as Secretary Galvez said, that the technical expert group has to endorse this. So marami pa. But in case, at yun yung pangamba ng mga tao, in case Malacanang, for whatever reason, says na hindi ito, balikan ko lang po yung isang sinabi nyo, mapipigilan natin. Kaya bang mapigilan kung if Malacanang is really headed in this direction, can you or any other entity, stop this?
Well, it's the executive department that can stop that. But as far as the Senate is concerned, we can obviously inform the executive department, especially the president. And that was what I was asking kanina, Senator Go, who is very close to the president. Sabi ko, are the hearings of the Senate nakakarating ba sa presidente? No? Usapan dito. Nakakarating ba sa kanya yung mga na-uncover natin? Oo daw. So, see.
Senator, paano ba kayo mag-executive session na via Zoom? Paano gagawin ninyo?
Very good question. That's the difficulty that we'll have. So, merong mga kasama kami kanina na nagsasabi that they're not too keen about allowing an executive session because what's there to hide? Di ba? Kung ang presyo pinag-uusapan natin. Anyway, if they insist, and the vote of the majority is to allow an executive session, the difficulty would be yung kaming physically present, walang problema sa executive session. But those in WebEx, or in Zoom, paano virtually present, doon kami mahihirapan. Madali ang access sa ibang tao, na hindi dapat kasama sa executive session kung naka-virtual yung iba sa amin. So that's one thing that we have to resolve before Friday. If we do allow we do approve an executive session on Friday.
Sir, is there still any chance that the Senate would look into yung importation and use ng Sinopharm vaccines ng PSG? Hindi lang PSG actually, di ba? Pati nga yung kay Senator Lacson nabanggit ho ninyo, tsaka ni Senator Zubiri na shipping nung November pa nabakunahan na. I mean, I do understand po your earlier statement na the people who received the vaccines should not be held liable, but the people who approved the importation and the people who administered the vaccine, they violated at least two laws, yung FDA law and the law against counterfeit drugs, and those are clear violations po.
Right now in the Philippines and in other countries also, there are people from whatever sector trying to import or trying to secure vaccines. They're scared. They are hurting and scared. The community, especially the economy, worldwide. So you can't blame them if they try that. But it is not part of the investigation of the Senate because we are focused on the roadmap of the government's national vaccination program. the people must be well informed of what lies ahead in further containing this alarming pandemic. Because ang tanong namin dito, bottom line, ang tanong, tanong ng hearing namin is, bakit wala pa tayo? Ang tanong, kung pupunta dadalhin natin sa PSG o sino man yung nag-import ng vaccine na ginamit, ang tanong doon bakit meron kayo at
Well,
wala kami?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. But that's also a logical question to ask.
Yeah,
Bakit
no,
meron
but
kayo, kami wala?
it's not, as far as the Senate is concerned, that we do not want to divert
Yes, but
the issue, because that can divert the issue.
yes, but I think that's a good point, sir. But leaving it without accountability, does that not create a dangerous precedent or send a dangerous signal to everyone na, naintindihan naman namin kayong lahat eh. Okay, kung kaya nyo pala, di kanya-kanya tayong mag-import. I mean, without the accountability, what kind of system and regime are we setting in place for the next couple of years?
What is needed there is executive action, and the Department of Justice is already investigating. So, para makisaw-saw pa Senado ron, masyadong political lang ang dating ron. We might be diverted from our real intention, which is the roadmap. And look, what we have achieved. Siguradong sa ngayon, di ba na yung gusto mag-overpricing? Hilong-hilo na yun. I'm sure they will retreat from any intention. And if ever they do, sobrang obvious na. Because ang mga tinarget namin dito was the vaccination rollout plan, who are the priority sectors, what are the sources of funds, what is the government plan to succeed in the vaccination program nationwide, what vaccines to purchase. Mas mahalaga ito para sa publiko kaysa sa bakit yung PSG mayroon ng iniksyon. Hindi it's not probably it could be an issue to those who are against the PSG or to some sectors, but as far as the Senate is concerned, it could be a sideline, but that's it. It's not going to be a full-blown investigation as far as we're concerned.
Sir, we're running out of time. Ihabol ko lang tong question. Yung isa pang mainit na issue, may pag-asa ba charter change ngayong taon?
A charter amendment baka magkapag-asa. If you want to amend a particular section in the Constitution, we can do it like a regular bill. Pero calling for Constituent Assembly to what? To open the Constitution, charter change is next to impossible at this point. It will take too much time. It will be messy. Ngayon, calling for a Constituent Assembly, there is a process. There are rules to follow. There are parliamentary procedures to follow. Do we vote separately or do we vote jointly? What do we talk about? We do not want to talk about anything else except perhaps the economic provision. So if it's only the economic provision, there is a one-liner that we could use so that we can amend part of the Constitution and not open the entire Constitution. Because I've always espoused the fact that charter change, I am really not in favor of any charter change. Perhaps, baka sabihin ko pa nga, ang kailangan natin, CHA din, character change. Baka yun naman si importante. So, the amendment could be, something like in the economic provisions, like as may be
provided before.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So you're okay with that? You're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Afterwards, Congress.
So
Whether our
what process does that follow? Does that follow a regular passing of a bill into law? Ganun lang kasimple.
Can be followed. It can follow that procedure. And then, pwede rin pipirmahan ng presidente. But this time, it has to undergo a plebiscite. Once it amends the Constitution, it must undergo a plebiscite. Ito pwedeng gawin because the plebiscite can be programmed or scheduled in the elections of 2022.
Yes, sir. Well, sir, yan din po kasi sinasabi ni Congressman Garbin, sir, na that is the same process except na 3/4 vote separately ng Senate and Congress and then to be signed by the President. So effectively po, parang you're talking about the same thing altogether, the same process and the same objective and the same bill. Tama ho ba? Am I getting this right? Na you are talking about the same process, the same bill?
Yes, that's possible. Ang hindi ko lang masundan is why they are declaring themselves as a Constituent Assembly in a committee.
Yes, sir. Well, I think, yes, sir, that is a point of debate nga. Pero, sir, baka naman kasi that's already a matter of semantics that can be overlooked. In the end po, it's the process po. I mean, in the end po, it's the process. Kasi po, when we talk to Congressman Garbin, sabi niya, ipapasa nila sa committee, ipapasa nila sa plenaryo, tapos ibabato sa Senado. Tapos the Senate will do the same thing and then parang bill po, parang regular bill to be...
Correct. But you cannot call a committee a Constituent Assembly. You cannot declare yourself as a Constituent Assembly. Did they declare it today? In their first session? I did not hear anything. I don't think they did. So that's still not a Constituent Assembly. That is the point that we were
Yes, sir.
Objecting to when we were informed that the House of Representatives now in a committee meeting declared that it's already a Constituent Assembly. That's not possible. A first-year law student knows that.
Yes, sir. Pero as a matter of purposes, sir, you are looking at the same objective to insert that one line unless otherwise provided for by law. And you are looking at the same process wherein both chambers of Congress voting separately will pass an amendment to be ratified by a plebiscite by the Filipino people. With a 3/4 vote, of course, by both chambers of Congress separately.
Former NEDA Secretary Pernia had said, and he spoke, and he explained it here. He said, I support all of these proposed changes. Basta ang isang condition niya is airtight. No, airtight na ito lang ang pag-uusapan. Ito lang. With the process that you're mentioning, are you confident that it's airtight? Because we don't know. I mean, may ilap magagaling ang mga legislator dito. Hindi namin alam kung ano yung bigla na lang maisisingit sa third reading.
No, nothing.
At saka, sir, yung one-liner na yan, how can you guarantee that it will just be applied on economic provisions? Paano pag in-applyan sa political provisions?
Nothing can be more airtight than that because it only says that you may provide a law on the issue of the economic provisions. Ang sinasabi na pwedeng mag-smuggle o kung whatever na mangyayari dyan is we open it. We declare ourselves into a Constituent Assembly and then we just say na, no, we're going to tackle economic provision. Ay, yari ka na doon.
Okay.
Anytime, anybody can stand up and say, we want to amend and propose the removal of the term limits.
Yun na nga actually sinabi ni Garbin.
Because of what they were proposing, it cannot happen. Because whatever... we can only pass that particular line. So nothing can be more airtight than that, a one-liner amendment to the Constitution.
Okay.
Pero sir, sabi ni
Economic provision.
Sabi ni Congressman Garbin, pwede daw pagbotohan actually pwedeng mag-propose sa floor ng House and then pagbotohan nila yung mga political provisions, bigla nilang i-insert yan.
Pwede mag-insert ang amendment sa plenary po.
Yeah,
which is basically what happens in Congress.
Sa plenary nila.
Sa kanila.
Plenary nila.
Sila hanggang gusto nila, hindi naman lulusot sa amin.
Okay. Now, Sen, I mean, this is a theory being proposed. You're saying that this is certainly more plausible, but going back to the original question of Ami, it's more plausible, but do you have the time? I mean, given everything that Congress, realistically, kaya bang i-agenda na whichever route to charter change?
No, that only route, that's the only route that's possible.
Okay.
The other route or the other Constituent Assembly that has to be called and that we meet as a Constituent Assembly, whether we're voting separately or jointly or whatever, that will take time. And that is open to any other amendments to the Constitution. Danger yun. Lalo na pag voting jointly. Outvoted kagad kami. Di ba? So, that's not possible. So if you're looking for an airtight move to be able to amend the Constitution, that's the only way. Other than that, it's not, it won't work.
Pero sir, it still doesn't sound airtight kasi in the end nga po, in the end, it is easy for Congress to just insert the same line. For example, dun sa provision na congressmen are only allowed 3 terms unless provided for by law. Dagdag lang ng ganun.
That's another amendment. That's another amendment. We're talking of one line under the economic provisions. That's all. You cannot touch anything else. All right, then what happens? If we want to touch ngayon, let's say, issue on trade liberalization, we have to pass another law. We have to pass a law on that. You know, if we want to remove the 100% on media, it has to be another law. It cannot be on that particular amendment to the Constitution. That's why I'm saying it's airtight. Kung yun lang. Wala, hindi sila pwede magpasok ng ilalagay din nila yung line na yun to another provision in the Constitution. Forget it. It's not gonna pass. Waste of time.
Senator, may isa pang hinihingi ngayon sa inyo, yung extension daw ng, kasi nag-celebrate ang Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, ang anniversary nila, kaya hinihingi nila na extend yung transition period. At wala daw plan B ang MILF, sinabi nila sa amin. Wala silang balak, wala silang ibang gustong mangyari except that. Kailangan daw i-extend. Ano yung sentimiento niya doon?
Tama, medyo mahabang debate yan. Mahabang debate yan, mabigat yan. And I know why, because distinctly, I was the chairman of the Committee on Local Government in 1992. Baka hindi pa nag-aaral si Lucino. In 1992,
Trabaho na yan, sir.
And my first bill was the postponement of the ARM elections. I had to sponsor that. I was not the author, but I'm the chairman, so I had to sponsor it. Ang haba ng debate dyan. So ito, I know what the chairman of the local government of the Senate will go through with this. Mahabang debate dyan. It's not easy because there are local government officials that are against it in Mindanao and sakop ng BARM. Yun ang problema. And then merong payag. So really, it's a very difficult subject matter. But we will discuss it. We will debate on it, and hopefully we will come to a very good conclusion that will be best for all sides.
Okay. Sen, you have one more proposal that we want to ask about. Your proposal to amend the Party List Act. You're saying hindi nito kailangan ng constitutional amendment. Again, it's just another regular amendment to a law. Could you explain your thinking here?
Yes, the president originally in our meeting, and he was very concerned then about the CPP-NPA issue and the relationship of the Makabayan Bloc to them, according to the reports of the intel of the armed forces. He said that better to remove the party list system in the Constitution. And I said that will be very difficult to do. We'll have to open the Constitution. So why don't we just, my suggestion, Mayor, I said, is to just amend the party list law. I distinctly remember also, again, that particular law because the sponsor was Senator Raul Roco in the Senate, chairman of the Committee on Electoral Reforms during that time, and I was vice chairman. And so today I filed the bill amending the party list system. And what I did...
What amendments?
The amendments is to really confine it to the marginalized sectors. To the real marginalized sectors and not the bloated one. Thereafter, when we passed the law, naging naiba interpretasyon ng Supreme Court, naiba interpretasyon ng COMELEC, yung interpretasyon nila, sumobrang lapad nawala talaga yung essence ng party list. So, we are confining it to the, ano ba itong mga nominees natin dito, yung...
paano po yan susuportahan ng mga existing party list block sa Kongreso na kung ano-anong hindi naman marginalized groups yung represent? Precisely the same people who benefited from this, who used this track to get a seat in the House of Representatives.
Correct, pero marami pa rin sila na makikinabang doon because the marginalized are really the fisher folk, the farmers, the urban poor, the IPs, women, youth, labor, Yun ang mga tunay. And then, there are amendments in the old law that I placed which answers the interpretation of then Justice Tony Carpio when he was, what do you call this, he was
Justice.
ponente. He was ponente. Oh, so he had some points there. We are doing it in the law now. We are answering it through the law, the reasons why they opened it up. The same thing with COMELEC. And then we are adding provisions there that will say that if your party that you represent, you are not a real farmer, you cannot be, like for example, if you're not a real farmer, you cannot be a farmer representative. Ganun talaga, sa marginalized ka talaga. And then also, the other thing is that yung kapag ikaw ay your party is working for the overthrow of government, then you're not qualified. Oh, yung
Okay.
ganun.
Sen, linawin ko lang po yung doon sa, when it comes to sectoral representation, dalawa po yung lusot doon eh. Yung isa, yung hindi ka naman talaga marginalized sector, that's one. And then the other route that people use is, I myself am not a member of that particular sector, but I represent that sector. Uubra ba yun?
Hindi. We're curing that in this law. We're curing that. Kailangan doon ka, galing ka doon.
Pero sir, for example,
Ako, nire-represent ko, ako milyonaryo, pero nire-represent ko yung urban poor. Hindi pwede yun.
yes sir, pero for example sir, a farmers group,
Farmers,
a
yes.
farmers representative kunwari, Ashendero might say that I'm a farmer because I have
Gentleman farmer.
many farmers under me, and we farm the soil, and that's my business. Isn't it also possible to go that way?
Hindi, because the majority of its members should belong to the marginalized and underrepresented.
Okay.
Ngayon, ikaw ay hasendero ka. Paano ka naging farmer? Hasendero ka. Yun nga ang gusto natin linawin dito because that was the problem before of the law.
Yeah,
So
but-
now, Senate Bill 1989, malinaw dito, peasants, urban poor, indigenous, cultural, youth, farmers. Yun lang talaga. Yung tunay na marginalized.
No, Sen,
Yun lang.
puntahan naman po natin yun, yung legitimate na ina-acknowledge nyo. These are the real marginalized groups. But it's not a coincidence that a lot of these groups are represented by people's organizations, civil society groups, people's movements, and so on, that a lot of, not just the president, but mainstream politicians will also quite very easily, very recklessly, and very casually also tag na, oh ayan, ito yung, this goes to the other provision that if you are for the overthrow of government, hindi kayo counted. How do you strike a balance there between, on the one hand, legitimate people's organizations, legitimate people's movements, and then the propensity of politicians to red tag these groups?
Yeah, no. That's the catch-all. If you're working for the overthrow of government, in so many words, I'm just editing it into that one-liner. No?
But who would determine that po? Who would determine that? Would it be the COMELEC? Would it be the courts?
The law will determine it. We are describing it in the provisions. I have not memorized the law yet because I just filed it today. So
Senator, you will base it on the anti-terrorist law.
that is the catch-all line there, which is the catch-all provision there. If you are espousing violence, if you are working for the overthrow of government, then you are not qualified.
Senator,
Pero
yung
sir, pag
working
nag-apply naman sa COMELEC yun, pag nag-apply sa COMELEC yun,
Kaya
hindi
nga,
na nila sasabihin that they're espousing the overthrow of government. No? I'm sure they will couch their organization into, words that, kunyari, represent a marginalized sector. No? So,
Yes,
we're leaving too much to COMELEC also to determine, aren't we?
No, that is what happened in the old law. That's why this time we're trying to put COMELEC in a box. We're keeping COMELEC in a box by describing what cannot be qualified and what should be disqualified. There is always, of course, there will be due process in COMELEC. Pati pag-registration. Pero I'm sure there will be a healthy debate on the matter, no? And I already filed it, but lahat ng nakita natin na diferensya nitong mga nakaraan, ay pinipilit nating sagutin dito. Ano, pati yung kung ano man yung description dati ng Supreme Court kaya nila inalaw yung ganito, sinasagot natin dito at sinasara natin. Ganon din yung sa COMELEC. We're trying to keep COMELEC in a box so that they do not divert and allow the sabongeros or the carreristas to have a representative in Congress.
Senator, kapag dinescribe ng Anti-Terrorism Council yung isang grupo, party list group na front trying to overthrow the government, kasama yon, masasama yon dun sa bill ninyo, yung amendment ninyo.
Yes, if they have, especially if they have proof. There must be proof. Hindi
Oh,
pa
kasi i-describe yun na trying to overthrow the government. So magiging basihan nyo partly yung Anti-Terrorism Council na rulings.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Of course, with enough evidence.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Senate President Tito Sotto, sir. Thank you for joining us and we hope to have you
Salamat,
again.
sir.
Salamat
Thank
po.
you.
Maybe next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Happy
sir.
Ami, Lucy, Ed, Robbie, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
We will just go into a break, so please stay with us.
department recorded more than 2,000 new COVID-19 cases today. And this brings the total caseload to more than 502,000, 27,000 of which are still active.
The virus has killed 11 more patients. This brings the death toll to almost 9,900.
Ang sinatarget pa lang po nun sa ngayon ay yung ating mga matatanda at yung ating mga frontliners at mga ibang at-risk population pa. Yung mga mas bata siguro na hindi naman imminent yung pwede silang mamatay dahil sa COVID, maganda po maghintay muna po ng konti pang datos para mag-justify po natin yung risk-benefit.
As of now, walang batas na nagre-require sa iyo na magbakuna ka. So, ibig sabihin, may karapatan kang magpabakuna at hindi magpabakuna. Pero, kung tatanungin mo kami pamahalaan, ang suwestyon namin, prepared namin, magpabakuna ka.
Welcome back, the Chiefs here on One News. We are now in the final stage of our conversation, and now joining us is Professor Guido David of the OCTA Research Group. Good evening, Professor David, reporting to us live from UP Diliman. I see in the middle of the afternoon.
Good evening.
The magic of
Good
Zoom.
evening. Yeah, maliwanag pa dito, maraming ilaw.
Okay, okay. Professor David, we know that for the past few weeks and ever since the break, you've been telling everybody na look, we're still waiting for the data. We expect that a lot of the laboratories were not open during the holiday. So I just want to start off. Ngayon po yung nakikita natin mga numbers. Are we caught up on the data now? Is this more or less the real picture and the real trends?
Yes, you're right, Robbie. More or less, this is the actual picture now. We're seeing the actual picture. So just to recap, nung holiday, testing was reduced by more than 40%. So halos nangalahati yung testing natin. And that's why halos nangalahati din yung number of cases. We were down to 1,000 or even less. Ngayon, because bumalik na yung testing, bumalik na yung number of cases to what it was before the holiday, so around 2,000. Pero ngayon, tumataas pa rin siya. And the reproduction number right now in Metro Manila is 1.10. And sa whole Philippines, I think it's about 1.20. Mas mataas sa whole Philippines.
1.20?
Yes. It's actually increasing in several locations sa Philippines. And that's,
Yung Benguet
Are we
na
expecting-
2, di ba?
But Prof,
I think Benguet has reached an R0 of 2, right? I mean, that
Yes,
was in the news today.
yes,
Yeah.
we are seeing an R0 of 2 in Benguet, and their hospital occupancies nasa mga 80+%. And their positivity rate right
Wow.
now is about 19% positivity rate compared sa 4% sa Metro Manila. So they will need a lot of testing para ma-cover yung mga cases nila.
I mean, do we
So
take
what happened
Benguet? Do we
there?
take
Did that
Benguet?
have something? Did that have something to do with Baguio opening up?
Well, I can say it's not, hindi lang Baguio, it's spread out all over Benguet and also Kalinga. So kasama yung Kalinga doon sa nakaka-experience ng increase in cases. It's in Mangkayan, La Trinidad, Itogon. So we're not sure, maybe it's the weather or, so we can't say for sure kung ano yung specific reason. But yeah, nakikita lang natin yung effect na cases are increasing there in Baguio, in Benguet.
But even so, ang sabi ng IATF, this is also a story today, and in fact, we're waiting for an announcement from Malacanang tonight. Baka daw, in principle, baka daw mag-declare na ng new normal in areas na wala o mababa yung COVID cases. Pero bang ganong lugar sa Pilipinas ngayon?
I would say may mga places na gano'n, not in metropolitan areas. Kaya lang, ang problem kasi dyan, hindi gano'n ka-strict yung borders natin eh. And kung hindi controlled sa isang area, ang daling makalusot, I would think, ng, potentially positive case this area na to na where they have the new normal. And of course, itong mga smaller localities, they have shown na they're good at reducing the number of cases. So pag tumataas nila, parang napapababa nila agad. For example, places like Ilocos Norte or Lawag, usually nakakontain nila agad, even though they get surges every now and then. Pero still, may ano pa rin yan. I'm not sure why the need for a new normal kung ibig sabihin wala nang face mask or kung new normal, not old normal, baka may face mask, pero they might want to have face-to-face classes, although na-shoot down na rin yung face-to-face classes na pre-post. And for good reason, kasi yung vaccine na parating, it's not tested for minors. And ngayon, hindi lang minors yung worry natin, pati yung mga seniors na rin doon sa vaccines na ito because of reports na medyo tinatamaan yung mga seniors na nava-vaccinate.
Sir, are you seeing any indicators that we are anywhere near a plateauing of the R naught, or is it still going to go further up? Any indicators?
Yeah, we're not seeing indicators that it's plateauing right now. I mean, siguro, if you ask me nung holiday, it seemed like it was plateauing. It was less than 1. Pero yun nga, because of the lack of testing, it was artificially deflated. Right now, it's hindi naman siya increasing masyado sa NCR, yung R naught. It's medyo stable between 1.10 and 1. It was 1.15 just the other day. So it's stable naman, but it means it's increasing. Yung number of cases is increasing, albeit slowly. Pero sa other places in the Philippines, yun nga, the cases are increasing quite fast, including Cebu.
But Prof, yung sa NCR, factored in dyan ang translasyon?
Hindi pa. I mean, we might be starting to see yung effects ng translasyon. And kung nakikita na natin, it means that the effect of the translasyon was not very significant, or somehow na control yung effect niya. And that would be good news if that's the case. Pero we're not out of the woods yet, kumbaga. I mean, we have to wait 1 more week bago natin masabi for sure na, okay, wala namang effect yung translasyon. So it could still cause a spike in cases this week.
Yung new variant, how worried should we be? Kasi hinahanap pa daw yung 7 ngayon na co-passengers nung first patient.
Well, we should be worried kung yung mga tao, they're not cooperating dito sa contact tracing, because contact tracing has been one of our better our weapons against the COVID. The past month, we have seen it work sa local government level. Maraming na prevent the secondary transmissions because of a very proactive contact tracing scheme. Kaya lang, kung hindi naman sila nagpapa-contact trace and they're spreading it to other people, I mean, we should be worried. Right now, we're not that worried yet kasi although we have seen yung variant dito sa Philippines, there's no evidence to suggest that it's widespread already. In fact, it may have entered pero baka limited lang, na-contain, or konti lang nakakuha ng variant. So far, it could spread anytime. So if we're not careful, that's why important na ma-contact trace ng mga tao who came into contact with this case.
What about the death toll? Are we seeing anything to be worried about in terms of the number of deaths recently? Parang tumaas siya sometimes, siguro mga 2 days of last week.
Yes, Lucy, yung death toll na, I think we registered 140 cases in 1 day, whereas we're just averaging mga 10 deaths per day, tapos biglang 140. It's not so alarming with the Department of Health data. Hindi ko masasabing I mean, there's a backlog involved there. It happened before na biglang may pumalo na parang dati nga 200 deaths na register in 1 day. So it's not alarming because when we average it out, it's still within the expected numbers. So alarm naman.
Yes. Prof, isang malaking balita na binabantayan ngayon is the number of senior citizens who died in Norway. We're waiting for the report from Pfizer. Now, obviously, I won't ask you what happened in Norway, but I want to ask you as somebody who understands statistics and who understands these numbers. DOH was trying to explain na, hindi, ready lang tayo kahit pa ma-confirm na may namatay. I mean, what are the other factors, and for you particularly as a researcher, what other factors and numbers would you like factored in before any kind of report as to whether or not those deaths can in fact be attributed to side effects of the vaccine?
Well, I've been reading the reports there. So as I understand it, they're trying to identify which of the deaths are due to the vaccine and which are not. So that's one point that they have to identify. Pero let's say I think they've identified maybe at least half ng 23, maybe 12 or 11 na they think it's due to the vaccine. So statistically, it's not a big number. So I've been looking at the number of deaths related to the Pfizer vaccine. It's not a big number, but it could be I mean, if you compare it to the whole population na in-administer nila to everyone, including from 18 to 70 or something. But it could be something to be concerned about if we're administering it to, the seniors. And in fact, ako mismo, I personally would recommend that we would limit the vaccination program to people between 80 to maybe 59 years old. Huwag muna natin biglain yung mga seniors because sometimes hindi nila kinakayanan yung vaccine. It masyadong malakas yung effect nitong vaccine, whereas younger, healthier people, okay lang naman, walang issue. So not to be alarmed about. I mean, we don't want to spread fear mongering na okay, vaccine na to has side effects, but I mean, remember yung Pfizer, this is new technology na mRNA, and it hasn't really been tested that much yet, except this year. So we've been seeing the testing this year, and so yung effects nito sa seniors, we have to recalibrate our strategy. So i-limit na lang natin siguro to 59 or maybe even up to 64 if we want to be more aggressive. Pero generally, we should stick to an age group na it's been tested and the side effects are very minimal.
Okay. Professor Guido David of OCTA Research. Sir, maraming salamat for joining us and we hope you have a good day there in UP.
Thank you,
Good
Professor.
day. Cheers. Bye. Thank you.
Good evening.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. And that'll be all for this Monday edition of The Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. I'm Edwin Gao.
I'm Ani Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Robbie Alampay. We are One News.